Okay, folks, I'm going to start the meeting tonight. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining the Citywide Major Transit Station Area Study Information session tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement, and I'll also introduce myself. My name is Erin Senior, and I will be your facilitator tonight. I would like to acknowledge the lands which constitute the present-day City of Mississauga as being part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat-Wyandot Nations. We recognize these peoples and their ancestors as people who inhabited these lands since time immemorial. The City of Mississauga is home to many global Indigenous peoples. And as a municipality, the City of Mississauga is actively working towards reconciliation by confronting our past and our present, providing space for Indigenous peoples within their territory to recognize and uphold their treaty rights and to support Indigenous peoples. We formally recognize the Anishinaabe origins of our name and continue to make Mississauga a safe space for all Indigenous peoples. So again, thank you all for attending tonight. Brandon, can we move to the next slide, please? So we're going to go over the agenda tonight. Tonight, we're gathered here today to learn more about Major Transit Station Area, a word you're going to hear a lot tonight. You're going to hear the acronym MTSA as well. So for those of you who are new to the concept of a major transit station area, MTSA is a mixed-use transit supportive neighborhood that provides easy access to local amenities, jobs, housing, and recreation opportunities. And as you can see on the slide today, we will provide an overview of the MTSA objectives. Oh, back to the next slide. Thanks, Brendan. The regions and cities MTSA planning process. And we're going to touch base on inclusionary zoning and the major transit station area official plan amendments. After we've done that, we're going to go into the MTSA dashboard. So we'll go through a review of what that is, show you how it works, and then tonight we've got about 60 minutes for a question and answer period. So then I'm hoping that we can all have our questions and clarification questions answered at this point in time. After we've done that, I'll present a few slides with some additional information, and then we'll wrap up the meeting. So on to the next slide, please. So as you can see, tonight's session is going to be recorded and will be posted on the MTSA project website next week. For those of you who would like, we also have closed captioning at the meeting. If you want to, you can press the CC button at the bottom left of your screen and closed captioning will pop up. We also just like to say, I've got to say, most of our meetings at the city have been really lovely. And especially when we're doing these virtual engagement sessions, it can sometimes feel a little bit distant. But I've noticed that everyone here is able to participate respectively, actively, and equitably. So I just ask that we continue to do that at this meeting tonight. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Communication is important during these meetings. And so I just wanted to say there are several different ways that you can communicate with us. For our attendees tonight, we have a chat function that you can type your questions, your concerns, or your thoughts in. During the question and answer period, what we found works best is if you raise your virtual hand, which you can see at the bottom left of your screen. There's a little hand function there. That lets me know that you'd like to speak and ask a question. And so then I will request to unmute you, and then you can ask your question. You can join this meeting via the phone, and if you have joined us via phone, welcome. We're glad to have you. If you would like to contribute to the discussion today, please just press *3 on your phone. That will again let me know that you'd like to speak, and then you'll need to press *6 to unmute yourself, and you can ask your question to the panelists. If we can go to the next slide, please. This is a simple one. For the type of webinar meeting like this, we do find that the stack view is the best view. So if you could just go to the layout icon, which is on the top right of your screen, click that, and then you can select stacked view. you'll be able to see everyone well. If you're on your phone, I believe it's actually at the bottom left-hand corner. If you click that, then you'll be able to choose stacked view as well. And so we can go to the next slide. Because this is a virtual meeting, we want to make sure that everyone has access to this, and oftentimes technology can be a bit challenging. So we do have technical support for all the attendees today. I'm going to ask that Melissa add the technical support line to the chat function right now. And I'll also just say it out for those of you who are joining us over the phone. Amy Campbell is our assistant, and she will help you with anything technically related that you need. You can either message in the chat or you can call 905-615-3200 extension 5368, and Amy will try to assist you to the best of her abilities. Next slide. So now that we have gone over the housekeeping rules, I always like to get a sense of who's joining us in the room tonight. So if you can just take a moment and add to the chat right now, let us know if you're a resident, what ward you might be coming from, if you're a student. You might also be representing a planning firm or a development firm, and please just put that in the chat so everyone has an idea of who's gathered with us today. So while everyone's doing that, if we can move to the next slide, and I'm just going to introduce our presenter today. So we're lucky to have with us Bashar as a presenter today. Bashar Al-Husseini has been with the city since November 2019, and he is a long-term Mississauga resident. Since joining the city, he's been involved with the city's major transit station area work in collaboration with the region of Peel, as well as the Dundas Corridor Policy Implementation Project. So we're thankful to have Bashar with us today. I can see that we're not going to be doing any polls today, Raul. Sorry about that. We've had some updates with WebEx, and it's just been a little bit more technically challenging than it was in the past. But we're going to look at doing that, okay? So thanks. Great, thanks for everyone. New resident coming from rural Ontario. We live near Square One. We've got a lot of great people joining us today. So I'm happy to have you all here at the meeting. As I did mention just before we get Bashar to start his presentation, if you've got any quick questions, please add them to the chat. We can address them as they come up. But the project-related questions really are going to be best addressed by speaking them to Bashar. That way we don't lose anything through when we're typing. I just find that when we're actually speaking to each other, we can really hear each other. We understand what your questions and concerns are, and then you can feel really like we actually were able to address your questions. Obviously, if there's any leftover questions that you've got, we can always, and I'll go over this at the end of the meeting, but you can always send us an email afterwards with anything that might come up. So Bashar, sorry, without any further ado, if you could please start the presentation, that would be great.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you all for attending tonight. Special thank you to Councillors Dasco, Mullen, Fonseca, and Demerla for attending as well. So as Erin mentioned, today we will be discussing the city's approach for major transit station areas, or MTSAs. The work we will be presenting tonight is the result of recent provincial requirements that direct future development within cities into main areas of growth. This includes major transit station areas. So MTSAs are generally lands located within a 500 to 800 meter radius, or about a 10-minute walk. And actually, if we can go to the next slide, please. So they're about a 500 to 800 meter radius or a 10-minute walk from a transit station or stop along existing or planned transit corridors, such as GO rail lines, light rail transit, and bus rapid transit corridors. The provincial policies direct the region of Peel to determine the boundaries of each MTSA in their official plan, and they also require the region to identify minimum density targets for each of the MTSAs. Based on this, the city is required to establish more detailed policies for each MTSA, which aim to achieve, through development, these regional MTSA density targets. Next slide, please. So what are MTSAs intended to achieve? Really, they are intended to manage future growth expected for the city in a way that creates complete communities and improves the lifestyle of residents and workers within each major transit station area. Some of the ways this can be done is by achieving appropriate densities, so taking into account the surrounding areas, improving multimodal access and connectivity by adding, by adding new roads, pedestrian and cycle connections, strengthening existing community character, supporting a mix of uses such as houses, offices, and retail, allowing for a range of housing types, including apartments, townhomes, and other types, and promoting transit supportive neighborhoods by integrating transit into development. Due to the varied character of each MTSA, no two MTSAs will be planned for in the same way. A combination of factors will feed into how each MTSA is treated. Next slide, please. As part of the Region of Peel's ongoing municipal comprehensive review process, which is being done through the Peel 2051 project, high-level MTSA policies are being developed. These policies include determining the location and boundaries for each MTSA, setting minimum density targets of people and jobs per hectare for each MTSA as well, and providing guidance for local municipalities such as the City of Mississauga to develop their own detailed MTSA policies. The MTSA boundaries were determined by the Region of Peel in collaboration with the city. And that process included looking at opportunities and constraints, as well as community assets and facilities for each MTSA. Next slide. So where are these MTSAs? Well, the Region of Peel proposes 54 MTSAs within the City of Mississauga. All 54 MTSAs will be treated as protected MTSAs, or protected major transit station areas, by the city, which basically means that they will meet minimum density and height requirements, as well as having transit supportive land uses. By meeting this criteria, they will be protected from appeal and will allow the city to implement inclusionary zoning, which I will briefly touch on a little bit later in the presentation. Looking at the slide, you can see that MTSAs are located throughout the city, mainly along higher order transit corridors, including the new light rail transit along Huron, Ontario, currently being constructed, the existing GO train stations along the Lakeshore West, Kitchener, and part of the Milton GO lines, as well as bus rapid transit stations along the 403 Mississauga Transitway, the recently funded Dundas BRT, the future 407 Transitway, and the planned Lakeshore Road East Line. Some MTSAs include more than one major transit station within their boundaries. For example, the Port Credit MTSA would include both the Port Credit GO station and the Port Credit Huron, Ontario light rail station. In addition to the MTSAs, there are 8 future planned MTSAs identified by the region. They're primarily along the Milton GO line as well, and their boundaries would be defined by the region at some point in the future. Next slide. So based on the region's work, the city's proposed major transit station area MTSA policies will encourage complete communities that meet the daily needs of workers and residents within MTSAs. This will be done through a range of proposed policies that provide more details on the uses of buildings and land, set minimum densities, and define building height requirements that are needed to achieve the density targets. So these policies will also promote connectivity, improve community amenities, and look to appropriate urban design and new development and ensure land use compatibility. Next slide, please. By including the MTSA boundaries within the city's official plan, the city will set the geographic area where inclusionary zoning can apply. Inclusionary zoning is a tool that enables municipalities to require affordable housing units in new residential construction. The city's inclusionary zoning for affordable housing study currently identifies 34 MTSAs where provisions for affordable housing are appropriate. You can see those in the light blue area on the slide. Developing affordable housing will also support the MTSA's objectives by promoting ridership, making efficient use of transit investment, and improving access to transit. The inclusionary zoning is being refined with a public meeting likely scheduled before the summer. Next slide, please. The proposed city's MTSA policy framework will also incorporate the recommendations of recent ongoing studies, such as the Dundas Corridor Policy Implementation, Official Plan Amendment, the Downtown Fairview, Cooksville and Hospital Policy Review, and the Lakeshore East Corridor Study. Recommendations from these studies related to land use designations and building heights will be incorporated into the final MTSA Official Plan Amendment once they are approved. As additional future studies for other specific areas are completed, they too will be integrated into the MTSA policies following council approval. Next slide. So now I will quickly go through the proposed changes to the Mississauga Official Plan. The Mississauga Official Plan is the main document used to guide how the city grows and develops. It provides the long-term planning vision for the city and how to achieve this vision through development. Generally speaking, the Mississauga Official Plan already contains policies that encourage compact, mixed-use development along transit corridors. For most MTSAs, these existing policies would continue to apply, as they already help achieve the MTSA density targets in line with the provincial and regional requirements. In parallel to the MTSA Official Plan Amendment being discussed here, a review of the entire Mississauga Official Plan document is currently underway. The review will look at updating the document to comply with recent provincial and regional requirements beyond just the MTSA policies. And if I can just ask Melissa at this point to put in a link to the OP review study as well. Thank you. Next slide, please. Currently, the Mississauga Official Plan uses a city structure system that covers all areas within the city. It recognizes that various parts of the city perform different functions, each with its own vision of how to accommodate future growth. MTSA policies will complement this city structure. You can see an illustration of how development within each city structure component would look like at the bottom of the slide. It can range from the higher, more compact built form found in the downtown area and transition down to mostly low-rise development in neighborhoods and employment areas. Some MTSAs may include one, while others, like Clarkson Go, can contain several city structure elements, which basically means that different areas within the same MTSA would be treated differently to accommodate future growth. But the overall intent would still be to create transit-supportive complete communities. Next slide, please. The draft MTSA Official Plan Amendment proposed will add a new section in the official plan that will include policies for all MTSAs within the city. These policies will identify the boundaries, land uses, densities, and building heights for each MTSA. They will also provide direction on land use compatibility, urban design, connectivity, and community infrastructure, including parks and open spaces, as well as general policies for future planned major transit station areas. A reference table that lists the main planning parameters for each MTSA, such as minimum density targets and mapping references, will also form part of this new section. Next slide. Other proposed amendments to the official plan include those that update existing MTSA references throughout the official plan document. They would also clarify how to read the MTSA policies in both the new section and in different parts of the official plan. And it would also add terms in the glossary related to the MTSA policies, such as the terms protected major transit station areas and transit supportive. Next slide. The draft official plan amendment will also update the existing Mississauga official plan Schedule 2 map to include the MTSA boundaries. The Schedule 2 map currently refers to intensification areas. This schedule will also show the general location of planned MTSAs that don't have boundaries determined by the region yet as conceptual circles. Next slide, please. In addition to the proposed policies, the draft official plan amendment will add a new Schedule 11, which will be a key map for MTSAs. This map will be supported by individual detailed MTSA maps. Next slide. So these detailed maps, you can see an example on the slide here, will also form part of Schedule 11 as well. And they will provide a clear reference of boundaries, land uses, and building requirements for each MTSA. Sorry, building height requirements. Next slide, please. As noted in the previous slides, once other local area studies are approved, any necessary changes stemming from the approved recommendations will be reflected in the new Schedule 11. The mapping will be fully updated as part of the final version of the official plan amendment. Next slide. To help get a sense of the MTSAs, the city developed an online MTSA dashboard. This dashboard is a useful visual resource which is fully accessible to the public, and it provides maps and other useful information for each MTSA. Since we have a few minutes, we thought it would be a good idea to go through the dashboard and show you how it works and the type of information it provides. So at this stage, maybe I can share my screen and I can take you through the dashboard. So, sorry, there we go. I hope everybody can see my screen. So many of you probably are familiar with the Citywide Major Transit Station Area Project site online, and maybe we can put that link in the chat as well if we haven't already. And once you go there, you can scroll down, and there is a section that discusses the MTSA dashboard. So you can just click on the link right under the image. And what you'll see is essentially on the left side, you will see a map, and on the right side, some related information. And this is a dynamic map essentially where you can zoom in and out and obviously drag it to different sides. And some of the tools that you will find here that you might find useful include, so first of all, you will see the different boundaries of all the MTSAs within the city and the names associated with them. You can certainly zoom in to a particular MTSA, in this case it's Bristol, and you may choose different layers on the map that can be a good reference point as well. So for example, we can click the Mississauga ward boundaries, and that will show up on the map. And what I might do is just increase the size so it's easier for everyone to see. We may also show the layer of the character areas, which is part of the city structure we discussed earlier as well, showing the different neighborhoods and employment areas and community nodes. There's also the transit corridor layer, which shows the various higher order transit lines. We've also added the hazard land areas for reference, the existing land use layer, And I think the more you zoom in, the quicker the map loads, just because the geographical area is smaller, so it takes less time to load. There is also the Mississauga official planned land use designation map layer that you can add. At this point, I might just go back to the smaller screen. And for all the different layers that you turn on, the legend for each of those layers can be found right here in the middle. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but essentially, right now it has the various land use designations. If we unclick that and click to transit corridors, for example, the legend for the transit corridors would show up here of the various corridors, and they're color coded as well. And so essentially that's the map. And what you can do if you would like some more information on a particular MTSA is on the top right corner, you have the select a category, and you may choose whichever MTSA you would like more information on. And again, you can see the names on the map, so you can sort of identify, and I can probably show an example of looking up an address on this map in a bit, but I just wanted to click on one of these MTSAs. So we'll show Clarkson here, for example, and it will show you the present population, the present employment numbers, as well as the MTSA area in hectares. It will also show you what we've called the present density plus the planned development. And what that refers to is, approved development applications, active development applications, and estimated development based on specific master plan and studies that we have. And then in green, this is the region's minimum density target that we've discussed earlier that has been allocated for this particular MTSA. So you can kind of see the two densities together here. And maybe what I can quickly do is also show you this magnifying glass tool, which you can put in an address. I'll just put a quick address here. You might have to zoom out a little bit, but essentially, if you put in your address, you can identify which MTSA you're in. So in this case, it's Duke of York. And then what you can do is click on Duke of York on the top right and get all the pertinent information related to that MTSA on the right side, on the right panel. And I forgot to mention as well, one of the layers is the building footprints, but that's only visible once you zoom in a little bit closer. And then that layer will show up a little bit more clearly. So you can see all the different footprints here. So that's essentially the dashboard. Maybe at this point, I can go back to the presentation. And certainly if you guys have any questions on the dashboard, you can go back to it a little bit later. There we go. Just to the next slide, please, Brandon. Thank you. The intent is to present the draft policies through a statutory public meeting scheduled for May 9th. The policies will be posted before that meeting to give everyone a chance to view them and provide feedback. Staff will then prepare a recommendations report with the proposed policies to council. The city's policies will be fully approved once the region's own MTSA policies are approved by the province and come into effect. So I think with that, I will end my presentation here and turn it back to Erin for the remainder of the presentation.
Put this in the chat, but I wanted to say again that we do have the Major Transit Station Area project website here. So if you've got your smartphones, there's a QR code. You can also contact, we've got Bashar's contact information here, as well as his phone number. If you've got any additional questions related to the project, please feel free to reach out to him. I will reiterate that we are recording this session tonight, and that the presentation session will be posted onto the website next week as well with the presentation. So if you don't have your smartphone with you or you just don't want to bother right now, you can go back and get this information at a later date. If we can go to the next slide. So as we mentioned, there are additional studies. We have, and some of you have actually participated in these engagements, but the Downtown Fairview, Cooksville and Hospital Policy Review, the city is working on updating the official plan with the Huron-Ontario Light Rail Transit line on the horizon. These specific communities, the Fairview, Cooksville and Hospital Policy Area Review, are expected to grow and change. So if you're interested in learning more about the study, you can go to the QR code there. I've also put up the website. It's under Have Your Say Mississauga. The primary contact for this project is Christian, and his email's there as well as phone number. And just to let you know that this project will also be at the May 9th PDC meeting. So if you want to participate in it, this is a really good opportunity to. The information is on the website, and Melissa will add this link to the chat. As we talked about earlier, the Lakeshore East Corridor study, if you hadn't heard of it before, its goal was to guide and refine the policy framework that will guide future growth and a compatible form of new development for the area. And the study's recommendations were recently approved by council. But I would suggest that, again, if you want to find out more about this information, go to the project website. We do have the project lead contact information there as well, if you wanted to have, if you have a question or anything like that. So we go to the next slide. There's lots of studies that kind of connect all with MTSA. So Dundas Corridor Policy Implementation. Some of you joined our public information session that we had last month. And we just wanted to let you know that the public meeting is scheduled for this project on May 30th. So again, we'll put the link in the chat, but please go to the project website. There's updated information on that. You can also watch the engagement that took place, our last public engagement, in case you missed it. And then we do have the Clarkson Station Areas study. Again, thank you for the individual that raised that question. Project linked is there. For those of you who aren't aware of it, the Clarkson Transit Station Area Study will provide a planning framework to guide future development, ensuring it supports a transit and contributes to the walkability of the area. Again, if any of these projects are interesting to you, please go ahead, check them out. You can find any information actually about our ongoing engagements and projects on the Have Your Say website. Melissa, I'll just ask you just to add that link into the chat. And we welcome your feedback on the studies. So we can go to the final one. We do have, obviously, the MTSAs are closely aligned with what the region is doing as well. And so if you're curious about this, you want to find out more, I know we had some questions about the regional study, please, again, go to their website. There's a ton of good information on here. You can contact them by emailing planpeel, so PLANPEEL at peelregion, PEELREGION.ca, or you can call them at 905-791-7800, extension 7169, and we also have the QR code up here. So folks, this wraps up essentially the information session tonight. And as Bashar said, this is really a primer to provide you with some information so that you had some background context when you look at the policies that will be posted on the MTSA website. Bashar, you can take down the presentation now, Brandon. Before we close tonight's session, I wanted to thank all our attendees for coming tonight. I know many of you come and you really contribute to the dialogue that we have each engagement, so I do really appreciate that. I wanted to thank all the councillors for coming, for listening, for hearing your constituents. Councillor Dasco, Councillor Fonseca, Councillor Starr, Councillor Mullen, we really appreciate you being here. I especially wanted to thank Bashar. He has done a ton of work and is just going at full speed. So he's really done an excellent job at being able to put this information together, answer questions, and again, to all the other staff that contributed today. And I personally would like to thank the folks in the background who have helped me put this meeting together, manage the chat, tried to help out with technical issues, And I really do appreciate everything that you all do tonight. And engagement's important, and so we want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. If there's no other questions, I just want to do a quick check to make sure that we're fine. I'll let you know that we will again be posting the video for this presentation next week. We'll have the materials up on the project website. The links have been put into the chat. And that's it, folks. So I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Again, thank you so much for attending. You can now leave the meeting. Thanks again. Take care, guys.